you put into words what just happened?
I mean, we worked so hard, and I think I'm just so proud of our group for staying with it. I mean, it's just insane that we're playing in the semifinals. I think we believed it, but there's so many people out there that didn't.
You guys didn't lead in the second half until that last basket. What were you saying to each other to just remind each other that the game was still within reach, even though you were down?
Yeah, I mean, especially in playoffs, you're never out of it until the final buzzer. And so we got another series. We decided to play some more games in Cambridge, but right now we're just proud and excited and looking forward to the next step.
Down by 6 players, fighting officiating controversies, and with no margin for error, how did the Indiana Fever pull off one of the most dramatic playoff series wins in a decade? And more importantly, why was Lexie Hull, a player who struggled all game, the one to seal it in the final seconds?
Can you take us through that final steal you had with 7 seconds left?
Yeah, so AK, our assistant, kind of drew up a play he thought they'd run, and it was really close to what they ended up running. So for us, it was just continuing to do what we needed to do, continuing to follow our schemes, get good shots, try to just get looks that we want versus what they're forcing us into. So it really just take every possession, and, especially with such a short amount of time on the clock. We knew they were going to try to get it into Bree Jones, and just saw the ball bounce, and it was my opportunity. I was helping off of the corner, and at that point I was like, there's not enough time.
Stay with me, because this isn't just about basketball. It's about one of the gutsiest underdog stories you'll ever see in the WNBA. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
What was that celebration like afterwards and back in the locker room?
God, everyone's just so pumped. And again, we worked so hard to put ourselves in that position, especially, a 3-game series, every game matters, every possession matters. So tried to give it up so that we'd run around and have them chase us. But I mean, it was just, we were all so locked in for that last possession. And then afterwards, the bench just so hyped, so excited, and just a really happy moment, to be honest. And to have it come down to such a big last 10 seconds, it's so exciting, and to have it go in your favor, it's almost like everyone's in a little bit of shock, but there's so much excitement, so much joy, and we're so happy for each other.
How does someone who couldn't buy a basket all night long suddenly end up deciding the entire season with one single play? That's the question with Lexie Hull, because for most of Game 3, she wasn't just off. She was almost invisible. You could see it every time she pulled up from the corner or tried to catch and shoot 3. The ball would rim out, her shoulders would slump for just a second, and then she'd force herself to run back into position. In the box score, it looked bad. 1 point here, maybe a rebound there, but nothing you'd call game-changing. And in the playoffs, especially in an elimination game, that kind of struggle usually leads to one outcome. Your coach pulls you off the floor. But Indiana didn't have that choice. 6 players were already sidelined. Depth wasn't just thin, it was non-existent. That meant Hull couldn't play like a luxury piece who only sees action if their shot is working.
I know it's an entirely different group, but do you at all go back to your first years? Is those are the plays you couldn't quite squeeze out and you lose games because of it?
Yeah. I mean, I think, we're just so grateful for the group we have, for the people that have come in, especially for people like Kelsey that put in their time with the Fever, and to be able to get to where we are today and have so many more games ahead of us. I'm just proud. And the people, everyone on the injury reserve that is there, talking in the huddles, cheering on the sidelines, it takes every single one of us. And to be able to just, the journey so far, to finally make it to the semifinals, it means so much.
No, she was stuck out there because the Fever literally had no one else to turn to. And yet, that lack of options is exactly what forced her into the most important minutes of the season. When every mistake felt magnified, when fans online were already typing about who should be out there instead, Hull's number kept being called simply because there was no backup plan. Now imagine being in her position. Shots keep missing. Your team is getting carried offensively by Kelsey Mitchell throwing in tough layups and Aaliyah Boston grinding inside. The dream crowd is getting louder with every Fever misfire, and you're one of the weakest scorers on the court that night. How do you even respond to that? Most players put their head down or let the pressure snowball. But late in the third quarter, with Indiana falling behind again,
Does this mean Caitlin has to wear the black Air Force Ones the rest of the series?
I mean, they're working.
She finally got the ball right at the wing. It was one of those possessions that wasn't designed for her, but the defense collapsed. She caught it clean, and she launched. Swish, 3 points. And just like that, the whole Indiana was clawing out of suddenly looked manageable again. The bench exploded, and if you watched closely, you could even see Hull's entire body language shift. That was her lifeline. Still, that 3 wasn't the reason she stayed on the court. Nope, the real reason was on the defensive end. All game long, she was tasked with slowing down Ryan Howard, the kind of dynamic scorer who usually smells blood when a defender is struggling. But Hull didn't gamble or overplay. She stayed low, cut off drives, and forced contested looks. One possession in the second quarter stood out. Howard tried to step back into her comfort zone, and Hull stayed so disciplined that the shot turned into an awkward miss. That's why she kept earning minutes. Shooting can vanish. Defense, if consistent, keeps you relevant. There's actually a well-documented trend in playoffs across basketball. Teams need at least one role player who doesn't care about the points column and just digs in on defense. It's not glamorous. You don't see highlights of it later. But it's the glue that holds everything together when stars are forced to carry an insane load. Hull was filling that exact role, whether she realized it or not. Meanwhile, if you listen through the broadcast, you could literally hear the Atlanta arena building up. Every Dream run felt twice as loud. Every Indiana turnover got swallowed in roars. And yet, the Fever were hanging on, often up by just one possession, feeding off Mitchell's tough shot-making and Boston's muscle inside. You knew they couldn't keep it up forever, though. Someone else had to surface. Someone outside the obvious names. That's why the final seconds felt like destiny waiting to happen. Less than 10 seconds to play, Indiana clinging to a narrow lead, Atlanta desperate for a last possession. The ball is inbound, and who slides in perfectly? Hull. She pokes it loose clean, grabs it, and in that split second, the entire tone of the series flips. From possible collapse to absolute triumph. A single steal with 7.4 seconds left sealed Indiana's first trip back to the semifinals in years. And the most fitting part? That one steal wasn't just an isolated highlight. It was the essence of the Fever all season, playing shorthanded, counting on grit, refusing to bow out even when every sign pointed the other way. Hull becoming the hero was the exact reflection of Indiana's identity, a perfect snapshot of a team that wins not because of one star, but because every player finds their moment. Lexie Hull's steal wasn't just about closing out a game. It showed that in the playoffs, the spotlight can land on anyone, and sometimes the player who struggled most becomes the one who matters most. That moment is why people love postseason basketball. It proves heartbeat stats. Now the big question. Can the Fever take this fight into a series against the defending champion Las Vegas Aces? Drop your thoughts below, because I want to know if you think this momentum is real. Remember, sometimes the moment chooses the player, and Indiana just proved belief can rewrite everything.